Well, I think this episode is going to be all about sisterhood from the start, because even how it kind of transpired, it's about that. Because if you guys remember, we had Pragati, who is a lawyer with Miraki on the show, and that's how we've got this lovely two guests on my show as well. So that's why I say sisterhood starts. I like how one guest leads me to another episode as well. I have a lovely two women in my along with me, and it's an all girls podcast today. So woohoo! Sisters in Sweat. They are co-founders, Tanvi Hans and Sweta Subaya. I hope I've got the names right.
Nailed it.
Thank you so much for taking time. I think in your short visit in Mumbai, I was happy that I got hold of y'all and got you guys in the studio rather than doing it online.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for time and welcome to the show.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Let's get to it then. Tanvi, I think people listening to this would be familiar with you. So I'm not saying Sweta, they won't.
No offense
Primarily being an Indian football audience, right? So, and we've chatted as well, though you don't remember, it's fine. I've forgiven you.
It was a
long
few
back,
years
of
ago,
course.
and
Long
it was
back.
online.
Yes.
Was it
a
virtual? It was a phone call. There you go. Okay. So I can't recognize your voice.
Of course not. No, I'm just kidding. Don't worry.
Okay.
So I think it's been a long, like as we mentioned, and we've both come a long way. Right now, I have my own show. You're doing your own thing, and great going, right? But I've heard and watched your episodes. By the way, there's a sisters in what's the name of the show?
Sisters Got Game.
Sisters Got Game. Yeah.
And I think 2 episodes are out.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And I was
well
just
done.
going.
Yeah.
I love my homework.
Clearly.
So Tanvi, I think you've spoken about how you kind of moved to Bangalore in 2017 from Delhi. But you also had a great stint outside India. In England, you've played for top clubs. I think one of them being Fulham FC.
Yeah.
And the last time we spoke was the struggles that you were kind of facing to get to the Indian national women's team side because of your paperwork and all of those things.
Yeah.
Why Bangalore? And what's the shift? How did you kind of narrow down being, okay, I'll move to Bangalore and then let's see how things go?
Okay, so first of all, I came back from England in 2016, and a lot of people often ask me why, because the truth is I do have a British citizenship. I could have easily stayed on and played there. But my whole idea of going abroad was to just experience the level abroad, because I've come through the system here. And I just wanted to, sort of see what the differences were and hopefully make a difference. So the idea was always to come back. And so in 2016, when I came back, obviously Delhi is my home. So that's what I was for that whole year. And so mum is a Bangalore girl. So every year, growing up in the summers, we'd go to Bangalore to visit my family there. So Bangalore was kind of familiar to me in that sense. And then this was just one of those family trips of mine when I was back already. And obviously by then I had this tag, right? That, okay, I've played in England and stuff. And then the football community in Bangalore then wanted to really engage me in certain activities on that one little holiday trip that I had. And I picked up on the pulse of that. And I was like, okay, there's interest here. There's something why would they want to engage me? There's clearly some interest here. There is a community here. There is, there's a platform here to play, or to at least engage in the sport. And much like everything I've ever done in life, it was just impulse. And I was like, yep, let's go. So it's pretty much that. It was that one, trip to visit family, where I got engaged in all these multiple activities, felt some sort of, future. And then I just made the move. And what also helped, apart from, just getting that gut feeling, was the fact that in 2016, I actually was a part of a campaign called the Dada Ding campaign with Nike.
Okay.
Where Sweta Subaya, other guest here, she was part of the campaign. We met through that Nike campaign, and she's a Bangalore girl. Now, I knew that the shift would be easy because I got to know someone from the city. And yeah, she kind of became like that that person for me in the city who helped me, build a social life, if at all, and also just get to know the city a little bit better. And she's a fitness, trainer herself. So just getting into the system a little bit, definitely helped. So yeah, it was an impulse decision, moved literally within 2 months of that feeling and that decision. And I have absolutely no regrets. Yeah.
Sweta, while I was doing my homework, again bragging about the fact that I've done well, you mentioned that you were always inclined and loved playing any kind of sport in your
Right.
childhood growing up days, and then eventually, like a good kid, kind of chose academics.
Mhm.
And you worked 2 years in corporate world.
That's right.
Do you think, but those 2 years of corporate world also played some kind of good and positive stuff on the way that you kind of had to, eventually be a co-founder or,
Yeah.
find something?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I never look back on my journey and say that, there's a part of it I wish didn't happen. Everything happened for a reason and played out really well for the future. What the corporate world did for me was make me damn sure that I didn't want to be a part of it in that sense, in the structured sense of the word. But it also sort of gave me, some tools that help me today as co-founder, right? The business side of
Yeah.
things. So yeah, I think there's absolutely no regret having sort of dabbled in that for a couple of years.
Now, it's also mentioned when I was watching the video is that all the idea happened through a friend who was tipsy.
That's right.
And that's where Sisters in Sweat came by
Right.
and started off.
Yeah.
So what was that party all about? And if
Yeah.
we get to know,
Yeah,
if we
yeah.
can get to know, and was that it, or was there more to that?
Well, I wish there was more. Well, so again, this was early days. Tanvi had just moved to Bangalore. It was a friend's husband's birthday, actually. He's also a friend of mine, I should say. And I was keen for Tanvi to come out and meet more people in the city.
Yeah.
She wasn't too keen to come out, but I managed to
I'm not
twist her
much
arm.
of a social bug.
Yeah.
Like I like my
Well, initially.
Yeah.
Now you're better.
now
Yeah.
because it's a community. So,
I kind of got her out, and by the time we reached, I think it was a little late, and most people had reached another level of the party, had a few drinks, and my friend Shonali had actually been bugging me to teach her hockey. I used to play hockey back in school,
Okay.
and I just kept saying no to her. Well, because I didn't have the time, and I was like, you need to get a bunch of girls together. Like, I didn't say no, but I just kept evading it. So when we came to the party, it was Shonali's husband's birthday. I introduced Tanvi, and of course, by way of introduction, I said, this is my friend Tanvi from Delhi. She's a professional footballer. And, Shonali was only just too enthusiastic to learn anything and start something new, especially physical activity wise. It was like, and she was like, we had mentioned, quite inebriated at this point. She's like, you've got to teach me how to play football, Tanvi. And I remember whispering in Tanvi's ears, being like, she's drunk. She'll forget it tomorrow. Just let's continue to have a good time. But the next day, I think she
She followed
messaged
up,
me.
yeah.
She messaged me and she's like, hey, listen, I'm serious. Let's learn. I want to learn. So that's when I spoke to Tanvi, and Tanvi is like, okay, let's do it. We'll need a few girls. So let's book out a turf the following weekend. I said, okay, I'll call as many girls that I think might be interested in Shonali. I mean, it's the same friend circle. So that's what we did. We just messaged a bunch of our friends. We booked out a turf. Tanvi and me discussed that we would split the session based on, a physical fitness aspect and getting ready for a sport, and then hand it over to Tanvi to do the technical aspect of the sport. And that was our first session. We thought 4 or 5 girls will show up, but 17 non-drunk girls showed up. So.
Yeah.
Great.
Good
Was
day.
that also a way to kind of, she was bugging you to play hockey? I mean,
Yeah,
to
it
teach
was
her
also
hockey,
hand her over to Tanvi so she gets off my back.
When you moved to Bangalore, did you ever picture something like this would start up? Or I'm sure you had something in mind when you moved to Bangalore, but was that something related to this? Or how do you kind of foresee of how it got into Sisters in Sweat?
So to be very honest, for me, I think, and I say this in hindsight, so there is that bias for sure. But I feel like even when I was pursuing the sport seriously at a personal level, I feel like the intention was always to eventually make an impact. And I never knew what that would look like. I
Right.
had no plan. I had no exact ideas or anything. It was just something that I enjoy the sport. I want to get better at it, and eventually I want to create impact through it. I didn't know what it would look like and what avenues that would be. When Sisters in Sweat, when this little evening happened and it led to that very first session where 17 women turned up, and then we continued to do that one session per week, every week, grew into a community. Obviously that impact became a lot more apparent through the stories that the women were telling us, the difference it was making in their lives.
Yeah.
And I think that it's not something I could have ever imagined, because I feel like it's creating impact at layers and in levels that perhaps we can never know. Because at the end of the day, these are women who are central to families, so they're picking up a sport, and it's influencing the people around them. Of course, it's making a difference in her life, but it's influencing the people around them. So now consuming football or consuming that sport that now she's a part of has become a family activity. So the consumption of the sport in general, or women's sport, has just increased just by way of participating in it at a recreational level. That's something that I don't think we could have ever envisioned, but it's happening, and that is real impact, because that's happening at like multi-generational levels. And in one word, no, I could never have envisioned something like SIS being born out of, especially an evening like that I was forced out to. But the impact it's having and the scope is unlimited, because no one's really doing what we're doing in that sense, Recreational access to sport for women at any age. There's no one else doing it in the organized way that we are, so and there's so many directions in which we can take it. It doesn't just have to be sport, but just community building, just going for a screening of a match. You don't have to be engaged in the sport, but just watch it together, those sort of things. So I could not have ever planned this, and actually, as you can see, it wasn't something Shweta and I planned either. It wasn't born out of any like pen to paper or nothing.
When you set up something, I mean, it's not just another weekend outing or a week thing anymore, right? You guys have grown, and you guys must have put your sweat into it for it to grow what it has. You being from the corporate side, and I think you look after the business side of things as well for it, kind of.
Well, sure.
How did you then kind of want to, build this in a professional way? Because you then have to have layers and structures, have more people, expand out of the city, have more cities involved. As Tanvi mentioned, she was taking up the lead to train also the ones, or teach the ones who don't know about the sport. So how do you guys go about probably finding a team who kind of led different activities?
So, everything that happened in the Sisters in Sweat story happened without a plan, happened almost by accident. The reason we even incorporated ourselves initially as a partnership is because one evening I got a call from the Creators League, which was then sponsored by Adidas. And the person on the other end of the phone said, you guys are the biggest community of women engaging in recreational football, and we want to sponsor a tournament for you guys. And in the course of that conversations, the commercials came up, and they said, okay, we have to transfer X amount. What bank account would we transfer it to? So I was like, I'll keep the money. So that's when I started thinking, okay, now there are opportunities that are coming about, and we need to structure this in a certain way. And that's when we even because of that one opportunity, decided to create the partnership. The first two employees were one, I think, Tanvi met on the sets of a film that she was making, and
she's also a footballer.
She's also a footballer, and we just started this community. And her name is Mithila, by the way. Mithila was just
we know Mithila.
You know Mithila, right? Of course. So I mean, you can tell Mithila's story, but the other girl who joined us in the early days was a girl called Sachi, who just moved back from Dubai.
Also
she wanted to, also a footballer. She wanted to sort of shadow me on my personal training sessions, and I said, forget that, you're going to help me out with Sisters in Sweat. So that's how this sort of team came together. And as we started getting more, not even more organized, as we started growing, and we realized, where we needed to focus our attentions, the initial 2 members of the team sort of naturally gravitated to various positions. And then I think as this business has grown, I mean, I shudder to call it a business because to us it's really not. It's a passion project still. We understand the business side is important to grow it, but but really as it's grown, we've sort of seen verticals being created, revenue streams being created, and then realizing, okay, we need to fill this gap. Like I said, there's no sort of template for us to follow. There's no other, I mean, we can take bits and pieces from here and there, but really this is brand new. So learning on the job and building from scratch, making mistakes, reshuffling, that's been the process.
You guys have also a team in Mumbai that
Yes,
kind
we
of
do, yeah.
handles,
Yes,
right?
we do. A tiny team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you envision with this? Yes,
Right.
it's a recreational
Yeah.
thing, and women coming out,
Yeah.
building community, well
Right.
and good, and we need that. Also, the message is also being fit. You know, in this day and age that we are going, we've gone through COVID, we've gone through whatever we've gone
Right.
through now, physically, emotionally. But what's next? How do you kind of, I know you mentioned it's still a passion project, and
Yeah.
probably this question kind of says, okay, what's next in the business? How do you
Right.
kind of sustain or maintain
Right.
what you guys are doing? How do you see it grow? What is the growth kind of pictured for Sisters in Sweat?
So the growth very clearly now is to be present pan-India and to bring as many women as possible, give as many women as possible access to sport. I think our main endeavor, as we've sort of gone through the years, is understanding that what we really want to do is impact women's lives through movement. We just want them to move more. And we understand now how much movement can impact a woman in various aspects of her life. This is something that I keep I've said repeatedly, which I didn't realize because I've always been, involved in sport, and I never thought to think of how it impacted me in the other areas of my life. But what sports does for a majority of women in this country, especially, where, they have to follow a certain script. Their life is following a set of guidelines and rules, always receiving sort of, being told what to do. When you're on the sports field or when you're playing a sport, it's reactive. You make decisions. You live with the consequences of those decisions. You feel empowered through those decisions. So I think what we really want to do is bring access to as many women, of sport to as many women, and let that sort of play out as it will in their lives. And we've seen how positively it does play out in many ways.
Tanvi, now you've been a player, right? And I know Sisters in Sweat, the larger goal is just, kind of helping break that entry barrier and also being a recreation and all of that, what we spoke. Do you somewhere also foresee, or probably also this is kind of scripting a way to maybe give birth to young players as well who want to teach and probably start their professional career as well?
Yeah, so actually that's a great segue from the previous question because the way that SIC's business structure has grown has also in itself been very organic based on the demand and interest that we've seen from the community that we're building. For example, of course, we're known for being that space for recreational sport for women. So we started off with football. Today we have multiple sports in 2 different cities.
Yeah.
But we also realized that what we're building is a community, right? So sometimes they don't necessarily want to engage through sport. They might just want to go out for a social evening. So we do have an events vertical that we also, that we also do some social events through, which are just like, for example, pizza making. There'll be karaoke nights. Those sort of things also happen just for community building. And again, that grew organically. And now a lot of these women have kids, or they have, if they don't have their own kids, they have kids in their circle, or, their brother might have kids or whatever, and they're seeing their aunt or they're seeing their mom sort of lace up on a Sunday morning to go out and play. It's influencing them, of course, And then so many of the mothers have come at the end of the sessions and said, my daughter kind of wants to learn. Is there a space in Sisters in Sweat where they can learn? So as of now, the answer to that is no, but it is very much in the cards for us to think of the next generation as well.
Yeah.
And we do want to go the professional route. But right now we don't have the bandwidth, like
Yeah.
you said, we are growing organically. So for us to sort of, if I do that, especially coming from the athlete perspective, I want to do it so proper. I want that journey of that young player to be very clear, because right now that is what it's very broken sort of journey for a female athlete right now,
Yeah.
female footballer especially. So I just want that journey to be very clear, and where we sort of fit in. I want to make sure that vertical is well looked after, but we will be definitely catering to a younger crowd for a more professional route.
Coming back to a personal bit, Shweta, for you, what pushed you into being, taking up as an instructor, or a fitness instructor, and what kind of persuaded you to take that up? And also, I think you mentioned you're a Nike athlete.
Yes.
Before you answer
before
you answer what I asked you, you mentioned you got a call from Adidas League. Was that, did that play any conflict? Like, no, I'm a Nike athlete, I won't.
Well, yeah. So that was the other reason for the incorporation of the company. So I don't have to be Shweta Sabaya, the Nike ambassador doesn't have to have then a contract with Adidas. So yeah. So I think the first question was why
what was fitness
again, a crazy accident. It was at that point I was in the corporate world for 2 years, and at the end of those 2 years I was damn sure I didn't want to be part of this. I was really sure that I want to get back into sport. There were no opportunities that I was aware of for me at that point, because I was obviously well into my 20s. It's kind of late to be part of a professional team, which is, would have been my dream actually, which I didn't end up pursuing early on. And I just happened to meet somebody who was setting up a very premium health club in Bangalore. And I just thought it would be a nice shift from what I was doing. It would be in the wellness space. Of course, it's not sport, but I was happy enough to sort of join him in help setting up the health club. And so that was like quite a steep learning curve for me to, figure out what equipment a health club requires, setting up the operations, all of that. So I spent 2 years actually doing that, just setting up the health club. And the end of the 2 years, the health club was open for memberships, etc. And that's when I decided, hey, maybe I want to give personal training a shot. The truth is, initially, the founder of the health club was the one who said, hey, because I was like, okay, I'm done here. The health club is ready now. I guess I should move on to something else. And he said, why don't you become a fitness instructor? And back then it was very much a bodybuilding culture. There wasn't one female instructor that I had known of, and it being a bodybuilding culture, everybody looked a certain way, and I clearly don't fit that bill. But having run out of options to do anything else, I said, okay, sure, let me give it a shot. And actually the first 3 months was just me on the gym floor replacing weights, watching other trainers, and I had a couple of manuals that I was reading up on. I got very, very interested in training. And after 3 months of doing just that, I decided to go to the UK to get certified. And that's when I started my journey as a fitness instructor. And of course, the first few months, I think everybody was wondering what I was doing on the floor, whether I was, doubling for a dumbbell that was missing on the rack. But I think in time, I proved to people that I could do the job. The environment was shifting as well from bodybuilding to more functional training. And then, of course, Nike came along, and when I got signed on by them, it was a completely different ball game for me from that point on.
From Delhi to Bangalore, and Bangalore today is the most buzzing, especially for football, sports in general, but topmost being football, right? And I don't think anyone envisioned this, that a city like Bangalore, which is known as an IT hub, would one day be a sports hub as well, right? So how did that grow along, and what probably for you when that shift happened? Because again, a Delhi or Mumbai has a lot more to kind of fit a sports narrative around them. How did you kind of grow eventually in the city, and to see the city also grow in the sports space? How much of that impacted you and helped you grow as well?
So contrary to the fact that it's an IT city, and then the growth in sport perhaps was not foreseeable in the way that it has grown. like I said, I sensed the pulse. I think I was early on to sense it, and I knew that this was going to be the future. And touch wood, I was lucky and in guessing that. And I made the move also from Delhi to Bangalore because I didn't feel like enough was happening for women's football in Delhi. Whereas, like I said, on one short trip, holiday trip, the amount of interest to engage me in various activities in football in Bangalore was so much more. And I knew that it was going to be, the next big thing. It is now in women's football. It is, one of those places where the women's clubs are growing. The state team is doing so well. And when I moved to Bangalore, I just wanted to be a part of any sort of football that was happening. Of course, as I always have, I got involved with like the men's football, because they somehow have their groups and their communities and their teams that play regularly. So that's how I got involved really and stayed in touch with playing the sport. And then the Karnataka Women's League was formed. Just a year after I sort of moved, so around 2018, if I'm not wrong. And there's this team, or rather an NGO called Parikrama, that had engaged me and some of our community members, actually our Sisters in Sweat community members, to come for a sports day.
Right.
Just to like be, some sort of aspiring role models for these young girls who are playing. And so once I got in touch with Parikrama through that avenue, they told me that they are putting together a professional team for the Karnataka Women's League that's launching that year. And so very naturally, I just captained that team for the next 3-4 years and played for the Karnataka state team as well. And yeah, it's been such a joy to see the way the sport is growing for girls there. In that every year, the state camp numbers are growing and growing and growing, and the competition is just going through the roof, which makes me so happy because girls are picking it up at a young age. Their families are supporting them. The schools are creating structures around their sport, allowing them to miss exams and stuff, it's great. I feel like the environment around them is supporting them a lot more than perhaps, we had growing up. And I think it's just a joy to watch the growth and I'm not even ashamed to say this, but from being perhaps the top player in the state, right now I have to work fucking hard to make sure I have a spot in the team, which is great. That's a great place to be, to see that future,
How proud are you, Shweta, for being a Bangalore girl, to see the growth of sport, not just for women, but for even the men? When I look at it as a larger perspective, the city is buzzing, with this year, in fact, having the SAF Cup there. We saw the people that turned up, the clubs doing so well, that every other day there's an academy doing so well. I think Kickstart won, if I'm not wrong, the Women's League this time around again. To see, even Mithila, I don't think she's from Karnataka, she's from Tamil Nadu, moved out there, right? So how do you kind of, and take the most out of this for Sisters in Sweat or for yourself? How proud are you and happy of the city being buzzing?
No, I'm of course incredibly happy and proud of, Bangalore being my city and it being such a sort of epicenter for sport. And it's really a moment of pride when I go into meetings with Nike and stuff like that, and we talk about Bangalore and what's happening there. So for me, Bangalore's obviously really always supported my aspirations as far as sport is concerned. I played sport all through school, and it was a really great environment. I felt like the city gave me what I needed to or to encourage me in sport. To see now that people are coming from around the country to Bangalore, of course, is a really wonderful thing to see. So I'm really proud of being from Bangalore. Of course, I keep saying I'm from Coorg, which is not too far away. But Bangalore is home in many ways, and it's great to see what Bangalore is able to deliver right now.
I think so. Just to add to that, and I think this is because we've seen the growth. I do feel like Sisters in Sweat has a part to play in the cultural shift in the consumption and the amount of fan base there is now for sport in general, amongst the women especially. they want to see their kids now potentially play sport a little bit more seriously and things like that. And the women come out in numbers to support the Karnataka Women's League. Every season the number of people in the stands is just growing, even though it's a small number actually, but it's growing. And I would say that SIS definitely has played its part, and the women outside of Bangalore and Mumbai who are a part of our community that we were able to engage through the COVID period, sometimes they plan their trips around these cities so that they can attend a session of ours, which is fantastic. Like, it clearly means that there's something we're doing right,
Yeah. Also being at the right time, the right place kind of a thing. Like, it's starting off at the right juncture when you all took it off.
Absolutely. And I think Tanvi and me have discussed this often. Sisters in Sweat could not have started in any other city but Bangalore. I mean, one, because of course we were based out of there, but also the environment that Bangalore had was rife and was ready for something like this. And I think Bangalore had to sort of put on display what was possible for the rest of the country.
Thanks to the tipsy friend of yours.
Yeah,
who,
always.
I think whenever
nothing bad came of drinking too much alcohol.
I think whenever you all win any awards, make sure you have her name in the thank you speech.
We always do.
For sure, yeah.
You mentioned that you will eventually get there. And that's what you want to do. Also have the younger generation come through. So can we see a SIS FC in the future, or have you thought about that? How you would structure it?
Not the structure yet. Definitely have thought about it. We would like, professional team set up eventually. And it is something, obviously, you can imagine Mithila was super excited with the prospect of that also. So we have discussed it briefly. Again, it's a bandwidth problem. And if we do it, we got to do it really well. Like, I want the players to really, really grow and have a solid future. So just want to make sure it's done well. I do envision it, and hopefully if we do a podcast, let's say another 5 years down the line, there will be, a pro team in place.
And you spoke about the team as well, that you're a small, tiny team in different cities, as of now in two, right? Bangalore and Bombay. How do you, yes, it's recreational and stuff, but there's still an involvement of teaching and kind of guiding the ones who are not aware of certain rules and regulations of the sport, as basic and simple as that. So you both can't be everywhere, in every session, right? And is there a team that way that you have that will guide these guys with their basic stuff? So, Mithila being there, yes, but when you kind of have expansion to other cities, how does that go about?
So basically, when we talk about our team, we're talking about our core team that manage more the business aspect of things. And in each city, we have a city head from an operational perspective, just to make sure that they're recruiting the right coaches, the quality of the session and the engagement with the community is a certain way, right? So I think in terms of, us going out there and teaching our coaches how to coach, that we don't need to do that, because we try and get on board people who are well acquainted with coaching that particular sport. If anything, what we sort of add to their existing skill set is how to engage with a group of women who are playing the sport recreationally, because coaches often approach a session from a very professional and
academy
and performance perspective. Whereas here, women are coming to have fun, burn a few calories, that sort of thing. So the approach has to be quite different, right? We don't have to get too involved in the technical aspects of the coaching. We get more involved in setting the tone of the sessions and how we engage with our women. So it is one of our biggest challenges, very honestly, is to find the right people to lead our sessions, and as far as the coaching bit is concerned, because coaching in general is not a profession that too many people get into. Initially, when we started, we had hoped that this would be an all women's team for no other reason that we feel that women need more opportunities in sport. But very soon we learned that there is a dearth of coaches to begin with, and then if we want to be more picky and say only female coaches, it was going to be a really tough sort of mountain to climb. So where we are right now, as far as our coaches are concerned, and even to some extent the team, is as long as it's the right person for the job, the gender doesn't matter.
Right. And if I had to ask you guys to kind of take us through a session, I know it's an audio show, but how well you guys can tell a story about how probably pick any session and how a session would go by. If you want to say about a football thing, since this is a football predominant show, how does one particular session of football look like at SIS?
So the format that we have, which we started off with that very first session, the Shonali's drunk idea, it was a 90-minute session, and the format that we had that day remains till today.
Okay.
And it is the same in all of our sport formats. So basically, it's a 90-minute session. It starts off with warm-up, which could last anywhere between 15 to 20 minutes even. We like to do a thorough warm-up and a thorough cool-down because these are women who either haven't played sport or played it many years ago, or just want to learn it or whatever. So to make sure their body is ready for it. So the warm-up is about, let's say, 15, 20 minutes. Then we go into drills. We could go up to 2, sometimes even 3 drills. And the idea is to cover one particular skill. So let's say we want them to focus on dribbling.
Right.
So the 3 drills might be around dribbling, but they're designed to, especially in the beginner sessions, designed to be fun. So there'll be a competitive element to it, or or like a punishment element to it, but just keep it fun and light. And then it ends with about 20 minutes of game time.
Okay.
Where we divide them into teams and they play a full, 5-a-side ground game, and then cool down. So that's what our structure is, and it remains in all sports, and it remains till today. Yeah. And music is a very big part of it. We have music playing in the background.
And so even the drills are divided up into like physical fitness drills and then technical drills.
Okay.
We always, especially the beginner sessions, they're sport-based fitness sessions. So the idea is to come and get a workout and learn a sport in the bargain. The intermediate and when we have advanced sessions, they'll be more focused on the performance aspect of the sport, right? So I think initially when somebody comes into a session at the beginner level, it has to be completely non-intimidating, and she just needs to leave feeling like she's got a bit of a workout, she's made a few friends, she's had a laugh, and that's the goal.
Right. Now, for you guys to start off something, and I'm sure that's exactly why we're getting you on the show. The response has definitely been good. That's how I even got to know you guys, right? And we're here, we are talking about it. But still, then, if I had to ask you all over the years that you see, what's the biggest takeaway that you all see? Yes, I'm sure even I've heard a few stories about women who come down or young girls who've come down and been part of different sessions. But something that really puts your smile onto your face, anything story that you would like to share. I know you might be there be many, but if you had to pick a couple of them,
like anecdotes.
Yeah.
I think the best one is.
You can say one, I can say one. So
okay, I think the best one is for me, the one that stands out. There have been so many, and every single week when we engage with the members, there's always new stories. But this one, you'll understand why it's extra special. So Shonali, okay, who we've spoken about 12 times now. Her son came to the stadium one day, obviously with his mom, to watch one of my matches, one of my professional matches at the stadium. And at this point, he obviously used to watch his mom go out and play football every Sunday with our community, came to watch my match at the stadium. So at one point, and Shonali told us this later, at one point, apparently he turned to her and asked if football is even a sport for boys. He thought it was a sport just for girls, because that's his exposure, right? That's his exposure to the sport. Right. That's fantastic. That's like turning the narrative on its head, right? And you can imagine the kind of reality he's growing up with. It's just amazing. I feel like that is impact.
Yeah, dad goes to work, mom goes to play. How cool is that, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's mind-blowing, yeah. For me, one of the stories that stands out is this one girl who, during the first league that we played, she came up to me and she was obviously wearing a team jersey and stuff like that. And she said, "Shwets, thank you so much for Sisters in Sweat, because I was that girl that would hide during PE period in school. I would either be in the washroom or under a table just getting away from PE period. And I can't imagine that at the age of 35, I'm part of a team. I'm wearing a team jersey. I never ever thought that this would ever be a reality in my life, So that was like really like a really special moment for me to see that, we can make these sort of like realities happen for women when they thought it could never be part of, their story.
I think it's been 6 years now. I'm not wrong.
Yes,
6 years. Yeah. we spoke about a few things that we want to foresee and we want to eventually see at SIS. But if I had to ask you, and probably that's the concluding question, what can we see immediate few steps that you all want to do? And also the year is ending.
Right.
And we are entering into a new year in no time. So what does it look like for you all at SIS?
So I think what we're going to see in 2024 is also, right now, up until now, we've just been a team of 6, maybe 8 girls trying to move this massive community. We are on the brink of some big partnerships, which I think you'll hear us announce in the new year, which will really sort of set fire to this, really, and at least 1 to 2 more cities that we will enter. Perhaps some really large scale events that can engage a lot of women, because right now, I mean, and this is amazing that we've purely grown because of word of mouth, but of course we're a large country and it'll take a long time before the Chinese whispers goes down and somebody hears there's a community called Sisters in Sweat. So we want to do, from a marketing perspective, some really large scale events that women can come attend and then sort of trickle into being part of various sports. So yeah, big partnerships, large scale events, and
couple more cities hopefully next year. Yeah.
Final thoughts.
The ultimate vision, the Sisters in Sweat, ultimate is that whenever you think about wellness and women, we want you to instantly think about Sisters in Sweat. And the one big learning that I think through everything that we do at Sisters in Sweat, for me, and this obviously I learned even, while being an athlete, it is very physical, of course. It's very physically demanding a sport, but the amount of emotional and mental impact it has is evident through the stories that are coming out through all these, our community members. So when I say wellness and women, and we want to think about Sisters in Sweat, it's a very holistic approach to wellness. It's, yes, sport might be one of our main mediums and tools, but the idea is to sort of, give every woman that space of community, that space of feeling better, just being happier, just, doing more for them. Yeah.
Right. Tanvi Hans, Sweta Subbiah. I think I've often been called, people say that I have a bias towards Bangalore. I kind of make at least 2 to 3 trips a year. But I'm glad that I have Bangalore to look up to, or to look aside and say, okay, if I'm sort of stories, I know where to look at, Thank you so much. And this means a lot, because I think, short visit and you managed to squeeze time for the show. Heartfelt thanks. And I hope I'm not bragging about any numbers. We don't brag about our numbers any which way. We don't have some. I'm assuming all of you, there are 1,000 people listening to the show, or more. But hopefully through this podcast as well, it reaches out to many other men, women who want to be part of this. As you mentioned, you're going to look at partnerships.
Right.
So I think everyone out there who want to be part of a community, if you're feeling alone, Sisters in Sweat are here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Join in. All you need is a spirit to come.
That's it.
That's right.
A wish to come.
Yes.
Yeah.
So thank you so much once again. I know I'm fumbling now, but it's time to wrap up the show. Thank you, Sweta and Tanvi.
Thank
it was
you.
lovely and pleasure. Thanks
Likewise.
to Prakriti as well.
Yes,
that's
Prakriti,
right.
Thank
Yes.
you. On that note, I hope you can come play with us on Sunday.
Yes.
Just come.
There's no
I'm
excuse.
Make it happen. No.
Traveling, so.
You're traveling this Sunday?
Yes.
But we have sessions
Boring.
every Sunday.
But you miss
and
us.
every
We're
Saturday.
here this Sunday. as well.
And you come to Bangalore 3 times a year now. So that's our headquarters. We do
Yes.
our regular sessions there. So
Yes, absolutely.
you got to turn up.
Yes, for
I'm
sure.
telling you, you love it.
Boys,
Yeah,
you all
yeah,
are welcome
yeah.
too. We have sisters and misters. Sisters and misters.
We have a
yes.
Sisters and Misters game
Yeah.
night that we do every Tuesday night. Yeah.
Yeah. So now you know, Mr. Producer and Sound Engineer, that my show is really cool. So, have more bit to do that. So this is the Total Indian Football Show. I had lovely 2 guests in Sweta and Tanvi sharing the Sisters in Sweat story. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are a podcast available on all the audio leading platforms. So listen to it wherever you want to hear. Sumi Saju signing off. See you.